Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to my YouTube channel. In the last topic, we have discussed about the oxidation and the reduction of different enzymes in the plants due to the energy resources. And now our topic is the cell energy currency. So let's start. After the oxidation and reduction, uh, compositely we call the redox reaction. The second step of the ATP, the cell energy currency, stand for cell energy currency. Adenosine triphosphate is also called adenosine triphosphate. The major energy currency of all the cell is the nucleotide called the adenosine triphosphate, and shortly we know as a ATP, adenosine triphosphate. It is the main energy resource for the majority of the cellular function, like the synthesis of the micromolecules like DNA, RNA, and the proteins. Another function is movements, transmission of nerves impulses, active transport, exocytosis, and the endocytosis in the cell. The ability of ATP stored release the energy is due to its molecular structure. Its question is also ask a question about the where the ATP energy is used. So ATP energy is used due to their molecular structure. Show the simplified diagram of ATP like this diagram. Each ATP molecule has the three subunits: first, second, and the third. There are three subunits of ATP. The first unit is adenine, a double ring nitrogenous base. Adenine, double ring nitrogenous base. And the second is the ribose, a 5 carbon sugar, and we see this 5 carbon sugar, one, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So this corner show the 5 carbon sugar in this diagram, and the phosphate group in the linear chain as like this. Phosphate group 1, second, and third, they are attached with the symbol of tilde. Three phosphate groups in this ATP. So the whole diagram show the ATP energy currency unit. The question is that who introduced the ATP? ATP was discovered in 1929 by the Carl Lumens and was the proposed to the main energy transfer molecule. The cell by the Nobel Prize winners Freitas and Lachman in the 1941. So what is the main function? Why it is called the early history of the life of any organism? Because the ATP played a central role as the energy currency in all the organism. It must have the appeared in the early history of the life. So called the it is called the responsible of the history of life of a cell. So adenosine triphosphate, first adenosine monophosphate, and the second energy currency adenosine triphosphate is called the ADP, and the third is the adenosine triphosphate is the ATP. So we discuss the molecular structure of the ATP. Secondly, we see the covalent bond of the connecting the two phosphate in the indicate by the tilde, and it is the high energy bond. The energy in this bond is released as breaks, and the inorganic phosphate gets the separated from ATP. The breaking of one phosphate bond release the about to 7.3 kilocalories. Uh, in other words, we call that 7,300 calories per molecule of ATP as follows. As ATP will react with the water and produce the ADP in one phosphate bond is break down and produce the energy 7.3 kilocalories per mole. In common energy reaction, only the outermost of the two high energy bond break down, and the second bond is break down. The ADP convert into the AMP, adenosine monophosphate, and one bond of phosphate is also break down. The energy can release 7.3 kilo per mole. This process continue and so on, the breakdown of by the energy a consuming process. In this way ATP transfer energy between the metabolic reaction. So our topic of ATP energy currency and their metabolic reaction is completed.